Hello and welcome to this video about integer operations. The learning target of this lesson is to correctly apply operations to both positive and negative numbers. Now let's start by defining what integers are again. So integers are whole numbers, and so these are the numbers that I like to refer to as counting numbers, numbers that you'd use your fingers for. So whole numbers, their opposites, which means negative numbers, and 0. Alright, and so the best way to just kind of visually think of integers, if we look at the set of it, let's say, there we are, dot dot dot, -3, -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, 3, dot dot dot, on indefinitely. So whole numbers and negatives and 0. Those are integers. Now, when it comes to applying operations, there are certain rules for how it works. Multiplication, division, this one is really, really easy, but there's one little catch for the rule. It only works for 2 at a time. So the rule, 2 at a time. And that rule is real, and so that's the catch. And the rule is same sign, positive. Different sign, negative. I should say signs plural because you're talking about multiple integers here. Negative. So let me walk you through that. Let's start off with the easy one. All right, so example, let's say we had 2 times 4. Well, you're all going to be like, that's easy. That's 8. But let's examine it. You have a positive 2 times a positive 4. They have the same signs, which means this one is going to be 8. And so if we were to kick that up a notch, and let's go with a second example now. Let's go -2 times -4, and we'll just put in parentheses so we can get that they're negative. They still have the same sign. So it's still going to be positive 8. Because this is how it works. 2 at a time. If they have the same signs, it's got to be positive. If you have different signs, it's got to be negative. So the third example, let's use some fresh numbers here. Keep it fresh. 6 times -3. These two integers have different signs. So it's going to be a negative number. And then you just do the multiplication normally. 6 times 3, 18. But since one of them was negative, it's -18. Same applies for division. So let's say we had 24, -24, divided by positive 12. You're looking at the signs. I see 2 different signs, negative, positive. And so negative is going to be the answer. Then I just do the division. 24 divided by 12, -2. And then one more. Let's go 5. All right. Let's go with -39 divided by -13. We have 2 of the same sign. They're both negative, so the final answer will be positive, and you just do 39 divided by 13, which is 3. And so that's the beauty of doing integer operations with multiplication and division. It's super simple. Same signs, positive, different signs, negative. But you got to remember the catch. You do 2 at a time. So let's go to another example. Let's say we had something like -2 times -5 times -6. You might be thinking, hi, look at this. They all have the same sign, therefore it must be a positive answer. But you do them 2 at a time. So what is -2 times -5? That's positive 10. Now bring down the -6. We have positive 10 times -6. Different signs for -60. So that's the catch there. You have to do it 2 at a time. And the same thing works with the division example. Now let's talk about addition and subtraction. And this is where it's going to get a little complicated, so bear with me. It's also one of those things that you just have to practice to get the hang of. So first, I'm going to give you a tip. something that I've found useful for students who are first being exposed to integer operations, and that is use a number line. The number line is a great visual representation of what's going on. And so you can kind of see what you have. So a number line, put 0 on it. Let's say we have 2. And then we can see what's going on. If we, are subtracting a number, how far we're going to go that way. If we're adding a number, how far we're going that way. And it kind of helps give us direction until we've kind of figured it out and we don't need the number line anymore. So I'll definitely show you how to do that. But then, like we were doing with multiplication and division, there are some rules. And so let's go over those. First rule is that minus signs beat plus signs. So minus signs beat plus signs. I'll explain what these mean. So these are great rules to have, but you still have to know what they mean. So next one is back to back negatives become plus signs. It only works if they're back to back. And then finally, this is another one that you're really going to need some examples to see to kind of really make sense of this. Combining different signs. So combining different signs. Take, that's nice, I'll take, sec here. Take the positive difference and apply the sign. So let me show you what all of these look like. So let's go over here to some examples and let's talk about rule number 1. Rule number 1 is that minus signs beat plus signs. So let's just say we had something like 5 plus negative 2. When we have something like 5 plus negative 2, this minus sign right here is going to beat that plus sign. And so this becomes 5 minus 2. And then, again, we can use a number line here to help us out if we needed it. But 0, 5, and then we have to go over 1, 2 spots, so 4, 3. And that would be our answer. Now, let's use a slightly more complicated example of this. So, let's say we had something like 4 plus negative 10. Well, again, the minus sign is going to beat the plus sign. And so this becomes 4 minus 10. And here's where some students might get distracted or get confused. We use a number line. It's all about counting out spots. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So here's 0, here's 4. And then we're subtracting 10. Well, up here, we know what subtraction, how that subtraction works, but we just have to keep on counting down here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's negative 6. So that's how, and then I'll do one more example, sorry. Let's go with negative 2 plus negative 1. Keep the number small to keep it easy. This minus sign is going to beat that plus sign. And so that becomes negative 2 minus 1, which is going to equal negative 3. Go to a number line, 0. You're at negative 2. Subtracting 1 means you go to the left 1 unit to negative 3. Now, let's talk about rule number 2. Back-to-back negatives become a positive. So, rule number 2. The way this works, let's say we had 13 minus a negative 5. Notice how these signs are back to back. And one way you can look at it, and if we were in person, I'd have a visual demonstration where, we can take this component of it and we turn it into like a vertical one, and you bring it down, and look at that. You have 13 plus 5 for 18. Now, just to throw it out there, has to be back to back. Negative 13 minus 5, these are not back to back. So you can't do that trick. So not back to back. For this one, you're doing the whole number line thing. So here's 0, here's negative 13, and then you're going to go to the left 5 more units. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And this one would be negative 18. Okay? All right. So that's how the whole back-to-back thing becomes a plus sign. Finally, let's look over at rule 3 again. This is the hard one. Combining different signs, take the positive difference and apply the sign. So rule number 3. So what I mean by combining opposite signs. Let's say we had something like negative 10 plus 3. I'm combining opposite signs. I have negative 10 and 3. One's negative, one's positive. So what I want to do is first of all ask myself, what is the sign going to be here? And so I know that, negative 10 is much larger. Let's see. So if I were to draw this on a number line, 0, here's 3, here's negative 10. This distance is much greater than that distance. And so that means that I'm going to have a negative answer. So this is the apply the sign component. The positive difference is I just look at these two numbers and I take the difference between 10, the positive version of it, and 3. Now the difference means subtraction. So that's 10 minus 3, which is 7. So negative 10 plus 3 is going to be 7. But now I have to apply the sign, which is going to be negative 7. Let's do one more example. Let's say we have 8 minus 15. So again, we have different signs. It's not written explicitly, but it's implied that's a positive 8 minus 15. So they're different signs. And so we can, if we want to, put it on a number line, just kind of look at that distance from 0. So 8 would be here. Negative 15 is way out there, and keep in mind negative 8 would be like right there. So this is much larger than that side. So again, this is going to be a negative number, and we just take the difference, the positive difference. And so 15 minus 8. And I'm doing 15 minus 8 because 15 is the larger number, and it just makes sense to do it that way. So that way I don't get a negative number when I'm doing subtraction, but I will actually get a negative number when I complete the original problem. And this is more, this method and technique really comes in handy when you're dealing with fractions and decimals and just larger numbers where it might not be as obvious. So 15 minus 8 is 7, and just like that last problem, 8 minus 15, our difference was 7, and then applied the sign for negative 7. All right, let's do, one final example. I get carried away with these things. What can I say? All right, with this one, let's say we have negative 11 plus 24. All right, so I wanted to show an example where the positive number is greater than the negative number. The absolute value of the positive number is greater than the absolute value of the negative number. So taking a look at this, 24, negative 11. There's more positive than there is negative. So this is going to be positive. So when I take the positive difference, will be 24 minus 11, which is 13. So negative 11 plus 24 is going to be 13. And then, didn't mean to put the arrow, I meant to put an equal sign. And then it's positive, so I don't have to write it, but if I wanted to, I could put a plus sign there. So the rules, they seem a little sort of out there and a little chaotic, but minus sign beats a plus sign. So if you have like plus a negative number, you just turn it into a subtraction problem. Back-to-back negatives become a plus sign, and then combining different signs, take the positive difference and apply the sign. Good luck with your practice and your homework, and let me know if you have any questions.